The Galactic Concord had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. 17 different alien species lived under its laws. They traded with each other, sometimes fought small wars, and slowly spread across the galaxy. The oldest and wisest of these species were the Valkyrie, beings made of flowing silver tendrils who had mapped every corner of known space. When Valkyrie, SciFi ships first detected strange radio signals coming from a small yellow star at the edge of the galaxy, they paid close attention. The signals were primitive but organized. Someone was broadcasting into space. They did not know the galaxy was listening. Ambassador Zethros was one of the oldest Velkars still serving the Concord. He had studied thousands of species during his long life, and he knew which ones were dangerous. When he analyzed the signals from the small yellow star, he felt something he had not felt in centuries. He felt afraid. The species called themselves humans. They lived on a blue and green world they named Earth. Zethros watched recordings of their history and saw things that made his silver tendrils curl with concern. Humans were young, barely a few thousand years into civilization. But in that short time, they had invented weapons that could split atoms. They had walked on their own moon. They had begun sending machines to other planets in their system. Most importantly, Zethros saw how humans treated obstacles. They did not go around problems. They did not wait for problems to solve themselves. They attacked problems with every tool they had until the problems no longer existed. Zethros brought his findings to the High Council of the Valkyrie. The council met in a great crystal citadel on their homeworld, a place where the most important decisions in the galaxy were made. This species is different, Zethros told the council. They do not simply adapt to their world. They change their world to suit themselves. They are aggressive, creative, and they learn very quickly. I recommend that we leave them alone. High Counselor Methrin, whose skin glowed with soft light when she spoke, did not agree. They are primitive, she said. They have only recently discovered how to leave their own planet. We could bring them into the Concord now, while they are still weak. We could guide their development. Guide them? Zethros replied. Or control them. I have studied humans carefully. They do not accept control. Every time someone has tried to rule them, they have rebelled. They fight against chains even when fighting seems hopeless. If we try to control them, they will become our enemies. Then what do you suggest? Asked another counselor. Place a warning beacon at the edge of their system. Tell all Concord species to stay away. Let the humans grow on their own. In time, they will either destroy themselves or they will become something we cannot predict. Either way, it is better than making enemies of them now. The council debated for many hours. Some wanted to ignore the humans completely. Others wanted to conquer them before they became a threat. In the end, they voted to follow Zethros' advice by a small margin. A warning beacon was built and placed near the outer edge of Earth's solar system. It broadcast a message in every known language, both spoken and mathematical. The message was simple. This species is under observation. Do not make contact. Do not interfere. Leave them alone. For 200 years, the warning worked. Ships from the Concord passed through nearby space but never entered the human system. Humans continued to grow, spreading to the moon, then Mars, then the moons of Jupiter. They built space stations and mining colonies. They developed new technologies. They had no idea that the rest of the galaxy was watching them from a distance. Then the Krethri arrived. The Krethri were insectoid beings with hard shells and compound eyes. They had joined the Galactic Concord only 3 centuries before, and they were hungry for power. Their dominion had already conquered several smaller species, taking their worlds and their resources. The Krethri believed that strength was the only thing that mattered. The weak existed to serve the strong. When a Krethri expansion fleet discovered the warning beacon near Earth's system, Fleet Commander Vrexthal ordered his ships to stop. He read the message carefully, then made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. Ignore it, he told his officers. The Valkyrie are old and cautious. They see threats everywhere. These humans are nothing but animals with simple machines. We will take their outer colonies first. If they resist, we will crush them. If they do not resist, we will enslave them. His second-in-command, Tactical Officer Crix, looked at the beacon with worry. "Commander, the Velkari do not give warnings without reason. Perhaps we should investigate more carefully before we act." "The Velkari warned us not to develop plasma weapons," Vrextel replied. "We ignored them and became stronger. They warned us not to expand into the Crimson Nebula. We ignored them and found rich mining worlds. Their warnings mean nothing. These humans are weak. Look at their ships. Look at their weapons. We have nothing to fear." The Krethri fleet moved forward, 27 warships heading toward the inner planets of the human system. On Mars, Colony 7, a young engineer named Danny Cortez was working alone in an observation station. His job was to scan the outer system for asteroids that might threaten the colony. It was boring work, and Danny often spent his shifts reading or watching old movies. But on this night, his instruments detected something that was not an asteroid. 27 large objects had appeared near Jupiter, and they were moving toward Mars at incredible speed. Danny stared at his screen for a long moment. His hands were shaking as he reached for the communication controls. "Control, this is Cortez at Observatory 9, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I am detecting unknown objects near Jupiter. 27 of them. They are heading toward Mars. They do not match any known human ships." There was a pause before the response came. "Observatory 9, please confirm. Are you saying we have contact with non-human vessels?" "Yes. Control. That is exactly what I am saying. They are big, they are fast, and they will be here in less than 6 hours." The message went up the chain of command quickly. Within an hour, it reached Admiral Lisa Huang, the commander of Earth's Defense Forces. She was 63 years old, with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen many battles. She had fought in wars between nations, wars between corporations, and wars between ideologies. She had never expected to fight a war against aliens, but she was ready. "All ships," she announced across every military channel. "This is Admiral Huang. We are at the highest alert level. Unknown vessels are approaching Mars. We do not know if they are hostile, but we will assume the worst until we know otherwise. Move to defensive positions around Mars. Protect the colony. Protect our people." The human fleet was small compared to what was coming. 12 carriers, 40 destroyers, and about 200 smaller ships. They were outgunned and outnumbered. The Krethri had technology that humans had never seen. Weapons that could destroy ships from thousands of kilometers away. But Admiral Huang knew something that Fleet Commander Vrextel did not understand. Humans had been fighting wars for their entire history. They had developed strategies and tactics for every situation. They knew how to win when winning seemed impossible. The Krethri thought they were about to conquer a primitive species. They were about to learn the truth. The galaxy had been warned not to disturb humanity. The warning was about to be proven right. The Krethri fleet moved toward Mars like a swarm of angry insects. Their ships were black and angular, covered with weapons that glowed with purple energy. Fleet Commander Vrextel watched the tiny human vessels gathering around the red planet and felt nothing but contempt. "They are forming a defensive line," Tactical Officer Crix reported. "Approximately 250 ships. Their weapons appear to be based on chemical propulsion and nuclear technology." "Nuclear weapons," Vrextel said, with what passed for laughter among his kind. "They will throw rocks and fire at us. Prepare all plasma cannons. We will end this quickly." But Admiral Lisa Huang had no intention of fighting a straightforward battle. She knew her ships could not match the Krethri in a direct fight. Their plasma weapons could cut through human armor like a hot knife through butter. Their shields could stop human missiles before they reached their targets. So she planned something different. "All ships, this is Admiral Huang," she broadcast to her fleet. "We are not going to line up and trade shots with these aliens. We are going to fight smart. Use the moons for cover. Use the asteroids. Hit them and run. Make them chase you. Do not let them catch you." The human fleet scattered like seeds in the wind. Ships disappeared behind Phobos and Deimos, Mars's 2 small moons. Others hid among the rocks of the nearby asteroid belt. The Krethri suddenly found themselves chasing shadows. Commander Pete Sullivan was captain of the destroyer Defiance. He was a tall man with red hair and a temper to match. When his ship received the order to attack, he grinned like a wolf. "Take us behind Phobos," he ordered his pilot. "Weapons, prepare a full spread of nuclear missiles. We are going to give these bugs something to remember." The Defiance crept around the small moon, using its mass to hide from Krethri sensors. When it emerged, it was directly behind a Krethruser. The alien ship was focused on another human vessel and did not see the threat until it was too late. "Fire everything," Sullivan ordered. 12 nuclear missiles streaked across the void. The Krethri cruiser tried to activate its shields, but there was no time. The missiles struck the ship's engines and detonated. For a moment, a new sun blazed in the darkness of space. The nuclear explosions ripped through the Krethri vessel, tearing it apart from the inside. Radiation flooded the area, blinding nearby sensors and disrupting communications. On the Krethri flagship, Vrexthal watched one of his cruisers die. He could not believe what he was seeing. A primitive species had just destroyed one of his warships using weapons that the Concord considered obsolete centuries ago. He demanded, "Our shields should have stopped those missiles." "The nuclear detonations are creating interference," Crix explained. "Our targeting systems cannot see through the radiation. They knew this would happen. They planned for it." "Then we adjust," Vrexthal said. "All ships, switch to visual targeting. Form up around my flagship. We will move as one and crush them with overwhelming force." The Krethri fleet consolidated, pulling together into a tight formation. 25 remaining ships moved toward Mars as a single mass. Too many for the scattered human fleet to attack. Admiral Huang watched this from the bridge of her carrier, the Relentless. She smiled. "They took the bait," she said to her officers. "Signal the cargo ships. Execute Operation Hammer." High above Mars, far from the battle, 3 human cargo vessels had been waiting. They were not warships. They carried no missiles or cannons. But what they carried was far more dangerous. Inside each cargo ship were dozens of tungsten rods, each one 10 tons of solid metal. These rods had been developed in secret, a weapon of last resort that Earth's governments hoped never to use. They were called kinetic bombardment weapons, and they worked on a simple principle. If you drop something heavy from high enough, it hits like a nuclear bomb. The cargo ships released their payloads. The tungsten rods fell toward the Krethri fleet, accelerating as they went. By the time they reached their targets, they were moving at a fraction of the speed of light. The impact was devastating. 7 Krethri ships were destroyed instantly, hit by rods that carried more energy than any bomb. 4 more were crippled, their engines destroyed, their hulls cracked open to space. The kinetic energy released was so massive that it briefly outshone Mars itself. Crix stared at the destruction with something like horror. "They dropped metal on us," he said quietly. "They used gravity as a weapon." The Velkari were right. These humans are insane. Vrexthal's compound eyes swept across his tactical display. Half his fleet was gone. The survivors were scattered and confused, and the humans were regrouping, preparing for another attack. "All ships retreat," he ordered. His voice was flat, all arrogance gone. "Fall back to the outer system. We need reinforcements." The remaining Krethri vessels turned and fled. They activated their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the darkness between stars. On the Relentless, Admiral Huang watched them go. The bridge was quiet. Everyone knew what had just happened. Humanity had faced its first alien invasion, and humanity had won. But the cost had been high. 2 human destroyers had been lost, along with the carrier. Nearly 300 people had died. Their names would be remembered forever. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "we are receiving a message from the retreating fleet. They want to negotiate." Shook her head. "No negotiations. They attacked our colony without warning. They killed our people. Tell them to leave and never come back." "What if they return with more ships?" Admiral Huang looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an entire galaxy was watching. Species that had existed for thousands of years We're learning that humanity was not weak, not primitive, not easy to conquer. If they come back, she said, we will be ready. And next time, we will not let any of them escape. The Battle of Mars, as it came to be called, lasted only 6 hours. But its effects would last for centuries. The Crethri had been humiliated. The Galactic Concord had been shocked. And humanity had announced itself to the universe in a way that no one would forget, on Velkar Prime. Ambassador Zethros received the news with a heavy heart. He had warned them. He had told the Concord to leave the humans alone. Now the galaxy would pay the price for ignoring his advice. What happens now? Asked High Counselor Methrin. Now Zethros replied, we wait and see. The humans have tasted victory. They know they can defeat us. The question is whether they will be satisfied with defending themselves or whether they will want more. He looked at the stars through the crystal walls of the citadel. I fear we have awakened something that cannot be put back to sleep. Far away on Earth and Mars and a dozen other human colonies, people were celebrating. They had won an impossible victory. They had proven that humanity could stand against the stars, but the celebrations did not last long. Everyone knew that the Crethri would return. Everyone knew that harder battles were coming. And everyone knew that humanity needed to prepare. The war for the galaxy had just begun. News of the Battle of Mars spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every species in the Galactic Concord heard the story. A young, primitive species had defeated a Crethri invasion fleet using nuclear weapons and chunks of metal. The implications were staggering. On Earth, the reaction was immediate. Old arguments between nations suddenly seemed small and pointless. Countries that had been rivals for centuries now shook hands and signed treaties. Corporations that had competed for profits now shared their resources freely. Humanity understood, perhaps for the first time, that they were one species facing a hostile universe. President Carmen Reyes stood before the world and spoke words that would be remembered for generations. We did not choose this fight, she said. We did not seek out enemies among the stars. But enemies found us, and we defended ourselves. Now we know the truth. We are not alone, and not everyone out there wishes us well. So we must prepare. We must build. We must become strong enough that no one will ever threaten our home again. Factories that had made cars began making warships. Universities that had studied abstract theories began developing weapons. Every country contributed what it could. Within months, humanity had transformed itself from a scattered collection of competing nations into a unified war machine. But weapons alone would not be enough. Humanity needed to understand its enemies better. Captain Sam Delgado commanded a small scout ship called the Wanderer. Before the invasion, his job had been to survey asteroids and map distant systems. Now he had a new mission: find out everything possible about the aliens who had attacked Earth. We are approaching the coordinates, his navigator, Lieutenant Amy Novak, reported. This is where the Crethri fleet came from. Delgado was a careful man. He had black hair going gray at the temples and eyes that never stopped watching. Take us in slowly, he ordered. No active sensors. I want to see them before they see us. The Wanderer crept through the darkness, its engines cold, its systems running on minimal power. What they found exceeded their worst expectations. The Crethri staging base was enormous. It was a space station the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons and surrounded by hundreds of warships. Ships came and went constantly, carrying supplies and soldiers and resources stolen from conquered worlds. But the station itself was not the most disturbing discovery. Captain, said Lieutenant Kevin Cho, who handled the ship's sensors, I am detecting multiple species on that station. At least 6 different types. Some appear to be Crethri, but others are very different. Delgado studied the sensor readings. He saw insectoid Crethri giving orders. He saw other creatures, some walking, some crawling, some floating in liquid tanks, working in the station's lower levels. They moved like slaves, heads down, bodies bent with exhaustion. The Crethri have conquered other species, Novak said quietly. They have turned them into servants, which means, Delgado replied, that somewhere out there are species who hate the Crethri as much as we do, maybe more. The Wanderer recorded everything it could, then slipped away into the darkness. The journey back to Earth took weeks, but every moment was worth it. When Delgado delivered his report to the military leadership, it changed everything. "We are not just facing the Crethry," Admiral Huang explained to President Reyes and the Global Defense Council. "We are facing an entire galactic civilization. Multiple species, some friendly to each other, some not. The Crethry are part of something called the Galactic Concord, but they are not the only power. What does this mean for us?" Reyes asked. "It means we have opportunities," said a new voice. Dr. Grace Kim was a small woman with short gray hair and glasses that always seemed about to fall off her nose. She had spent her career studying physics, never expecting her work to have practical applications. Now, she was humanity's most important scientist. "We have been studying the wreckage from the Battle of Mars," she explained. "The Crethry technology is different from ours, but it is not better. Their faster-than-light drives are more efficient for long distances, but our engines produce more power. Their plasma weapons are devastating, but our kinetic systems can penetrate their shields. Their armor is designed to stop energy attacks, which means it is actually weak against physical impacts. So we can match them," said General Howard Park, commander of Earth's ground forces. "We can do more than match them," Grace replied. "Give me time and resources, and I will give you ships that are faster than anything they have. Weapons they have never imagined. Shields they cannot break. Humanity has been developing war technology for 10,000 years. We are very, very good at it." The council gave Grace everything she asked for: the best engineers, the most advanced facilities, unlimited funding. She began working around the clock, pushing human technology forward at an incredible pace. Meanwhile, Ambassador Laura Chen was planning a different kind of campaign. Laura was a diplomat who had spent her career negotiating between stubborn governments. She was patient, clever, and very good at understanding what people truly wanted. When she saw Captain Delgado's report about enslaved species, she had an idea. "The Crethry have conquered many worlds," she told President Reyes. "Those conquered peoples must hate their masters. If we can reach them, if we can help them, we might gain allies. You want to start rebellions in enemy territory?" Reyes asked. "I want to offer hope to people who have none. The Crethry rule through fear. We can show their slaves that fear is not the only option." Reyes thought about this for a long moment. It was risky. If the plan failed, it might bring more enemies to Earth's door. But if it succeeded, humanity would not have to face the galaxy alone. "Do it," she said. "But be careful. We cannot afford to make things worse." Laura assembled a team of diplomats, soldiers, and specialists in alien languages. They boarded a small, fast ship and headed into the unknown. Their first contact was with a species called the Torsion. The Torsion were tall beings with blue skin and 4 arms. They had been conquered by the Crethry 200 years ago, but they had never stopped hating their masters. When Laura's ship appeared in their system, they were suspicious at first. "Why should we trust you?" asked Torsion Elder Vethanos. "You are strange creatures. We do not know your intentions." "We are humans," Laura replied. "The Crethry attacked our home. We defeated them. Now we want to make sure they can never threaten us or anyone else again." "You defeated the Crethry?" Vethanos leaned forward, all 4 arms gripping the table. "How?" Laura smiled. "We threw rocks at them. Very big rocks, moving very fast."
Ow.
There was a moment of silence. Then Vethanos made a sound that might have been laughter. "You are insane. The Crethry were right to fear you. The Crethry were right to fear everyone who values freedom," Laura said. "They just did not know it yet." The conversation lasted many hours. By the end, the Torsion had agreed to stay neutral in any future conflict and to provide information about Crethry movements. It was not an alliance, not yet. But it was a beginning. Laura and her team moved on to other worlds, other species. Some rejected them. Some were too afraid to help, but many listened. Many remembered what freedom felt like and wanted to feel it again. Humanity was building something new. Not just a fleet of warships, but a network of friends and allies spread across the galaxy. The Krethri had made enemies everywhere they went. Now those enemies were starting to talk to each other. The stars were about to burn with a fire the Concord had never imagined. And humanity was holding the match. 2 years had passed since the Battle of Mars. In that time, humanity had transformed itself completely. The Earth Defense Fleet had grown from a few hundred ships to several thousand. Dr. Grace Kim's research had produced miracles. Human ships could now travel faster than light, matching the speed of any vessel in the galaxy. New weapons could punch through Krethri armor like paper. Shields of human design could absorb plasma fire that would have destroyed older vessels instantly. But the greatest change was not in technology. It was in how humans saw themselves. Before first contact, humanity had been divided by borders, languages, religions, and politics. Now those divisions seemed almost silly. Humans were one species, one family, facing a universe that wanted to conquer them. Old enemies became friends. Old friends became brothers and sisters in arms. And humanity was not fighting alone. Ambassador Lara Chen had spent 2 years traveling through the galaxy in secret. She had met with leaders of enslaved species, with resistance fighters hiding in the shadows, with anyone who hated the Krethri and dreamed of freedom. Everywhere she went, she carried the same message. You do not have to accept slavery, she told them. You do not have to bow to the Krethri forever. We will help you fight. We will teach you how to win. Human soldiers began appearing on conquered worlds. They came in small teams, hiding from Krethri patrols, teaching rebellion to species that had forgotten how to resist. They showed the Torsion how to build weapons from scrap metal. They taught the Mekler how to sabotage Krethri factories. They gave the Velinari hope when hope had been dead for centuries. The Krethri Dominion found itself fighting fires everywhere. Rebellions broke out on a dozen worlds. Supply lines were disrupted. Garrisons were attacked by people who had seemed completely broken. Fleet Commander Vrextel, who had been disgraced after his defeat at Mars, was summoned before the Dominion's ruling council. This is impossible, he told them. These slave species have been conquered for generations. They have no weapons, no training, no hope. How can they suddenly be fighting back? Because the humans are helping them, said Grand Marshal Dexiner, the Dominion's supreme military leader. The humans are spreading rebellion like a disease. Every world they touch becomes a battlefield. Then we must destroy the humans, Vrextel said. We must gather every ship we have and burn their homeworld to ashes. That is exactly what we intend to do, Dexiner replied. You will command the fleet. This is your chance to redeem yourself. Vrextel felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had lost to the humans once. He would not lose again. How many ships will I have? 300. Every warship the Dominion can spare. It will be the largest fleet ever assembled in our history. The Krethri Armada took months to gather. Ships came from every corner of the Dominion, leaving conquered worlds with only skeleton garrisons. This was exactly what Ambassador Chen had hoped for. They are taking the bait, she reported to President Reyes. The Krethri are pulling their forces together for one massive attack. They are leaving their empire almost undefended. And our allies? Reyes asked. Ready? When the Krethri fleet enters human space, rebellions will break out across the Dominion. The Krethri will have nothing to return to. It was a risky plan. Everything depended on stopping the Krethri fleet before it could reach Earth. If humanity lost this battle, there would be no second chance. Admiral Lisa Huang waited at the edge of the solar system with 3,000 warships. 2 years ago, she had commanded a few hundred vessels and won against impossible odds. Now she had a real fleet, equipped with the best technology humanity could build. Contact, her sensor officer reported. 300 Krethri vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They are heading directly for us. Huang studied the tactical display. The Krethri fleet was impressive, but it was not as overwhelming as she had feared. Her ships were faster, her weapons were better, and her crews had been training for this moment for 2 years. All ships. She broadcast, "This is Admiral Huang. We have been preparing for this day since the Battle of Mars. We know what is at stake. Our homes. our families, our future. The Krethri think they can destroy us. They are wrong. Today, we will show them what humanity is capable of. The battle began. Human destroyers raced forward in attack formations, their weapons blazing. Plasma fire from Krethri vessels splashed against human shields and was absorbed. Nuclear missiles and kinetic rounds tore into Krethri armor, cracking holes and igniting explosions. Rexthal watched his fleet being torn apart. He could not understand what was happening. 2 years ago, his plasma cannons had devastated human ships. Now they seemed almost useless. 2 years ago, human weapons had been crude and primitive. Now they were cutting through his fleet like claws through soft flesh. How have they improved so much? He demanded. This is not possible. They are humans, Crix replied, standing beside his commander once again. They learn. They adapt. They never stop trying to become stronger. The battle raged for 2 days. Human ships darted around the slower Krethri vessels, striking from unexpected angles, retreating before counterattacks could land. Slowly, steadily, the Krethri fleet was being destroyed. Then, on the second day, something unexpected happened. A communications officer on the Relentless reported, "We are detecting new ships emerging from faster-than-light travel. 40 vessels. They are not Krethri." Huang felt her heart freeze. More enemies. Just when victory seemed possible. "Identify them," she ordered. There was a pause. Then the officer spoke again, disbelief in his voice. "They are Torsion, Admiral, and they are firing on the Krethri." The Torsion Collective had chosen a side. After 200 years of slavery, after generations of suffering, they had finally decided to fight. And they were not alone. More ships appeared. Meckler cruisers, Velinary frigates. Species that had been conquered and broken were rising up at the moment of humanity's greatest need. On the Krethri flagship, Rexthal saw his fleet crumbling from 2 sides. The humans in front of him, former slaves behind him. Everything he had believed about the natural order of the galaxy was falling apart. Commander Crix said quietly, "We must retreat. The battle is lost." "Retreat to where?" Rexthal replied. "Reports are coming in from across the Dominion. Rebellions everywhere. Our garrisons are overwhelmed. Our supply depots are burning. There is nowhere to retreat to." The Krethri fleet fought on for another day, but the outcome was never in doubt. When it was over, fewer than 50 Krethri ships remained. Rexthal himself was captured when his flagship was boarded by human marines. The Second Battle of Sol was the end of the Krethri Dominion. Within weeks, every conquered world had broken free. The Krethri retreated to their homeworld, their empire reduced to a single system, their dreams of galactic conquest destroyed forever. On Velkar Prime, Ambassador Zethros sent a message to Earth. "The Galactic Concord wishes to speak with humanity," he said. "We believe it is time to discuss the future of the galaxy." Ambassador Chen received the message and smiled. "The Concord wants to talk? After ignoring us for 200 years? They are afraid," President Reyes replied. "They should be. We just destroyed the largest military force in the galaxy. Now they want to know what we will do next."
Ow.
"What will we do next?" Reyes looked out the window at the stars. "Whatever we want. The galaxy tried to keep us contained. That is no longer possible. Humanity is awake, and we are not going back to sleep." 5 years had passed since the first Krethri ship entered human space. In that time, the galaxy had been transformed beyond recognition. The Galactic Concord still existed. But it was no longer the same organization that had ruled for 12,000 years. The old system, where ancient species like the Velkari made decisions for everyone else, was gone. In its place was something new. Something built on ideas that humans had carried with them from Earth. Freedom, equality, self-determination, the right of every species to choose its own path. President Carmen Reyes, now serving her 3rd term as humanity's leader, stood before the first meeting of the Reformed Galactic Assembly. The Great Hall had been built specifically to hold delegates from every species in the galaxy. Some breathe oxygen, some breathe methane, Some did not breathe at all, but they had all come together to build a new future. We did not seek to change the galaxy, Reyes said. We only wanted to protect our home. But we learned something important. The old ways, where the strong dominated the weak. Where some species decided the fate of others, those ways led to hatred and war. They had to change. In the audience, Admiral Lisa Huang sat in a place of honor. She had become a legend, the human who had defeated 2 alien invasions and broken the power of the Crethry Dominion. Beside her sat Crix, the former Crethry tactical officer who had surrendered with his commander and then chosen to work for peace. Your species is remarkable, Crix told Huang quietly. We thought you were primitive animals. We were very wrong. Everyone makes mistakes, Huang replied. What matters is learning from them. Nearby, Dr. Grace Kim was accepting recognition for her scientific achievements. Her work had given humanity weapons and shields that matched anything in the galaxy. But now she was focused on peaceful technology, on faster-than-light drives that could reach distant stars, on devices that could heal diseases and grow food in barren places. War brought us here, she told the assembly, but war is not our future. Humanity has always been at its best when we build, not when we destroy. Captain Sam Delgado and Ambassador Laura Chen were also present. They had worked together for years, gathering intelligence and making allies. Now they were planning new expeditions, journeys beyond the known galaxy into regions no species had ever explored. There is so much out there, Delgado said. Looking up at the stars visible through the hall's transparent ceiling, so much we have not seen, so much we do not know. And we have time to discover it all, Chen replied. No one will try to stop us now. The galaxy had indeed changed. Species that had been enslaved by the Crethry were now free, building their own civilizations with human help. The Torsion Collective had become humanity's closest ally, their 4-armed soldiers fighting alongside human marines in peacekeeping missions across the former Dominion. The Mechler Union was trading technology with Earth. Each species learning from the other, even the Valkyrie had adapted. Ambassador Zethros attended the assembly, his silver tendrils moving slowly with age but still carrying wisdom. We were wrong about you, he admitted to President Reyes during a private conversation. We thought you were dangerous, and we tried to contain you. We should have welcomed you instead. You were not entirely wrong, Reyes replied. We are dangerous, but we are also more than that. We can be dangerous to those who threaten us and helpful to those who need us. The choice was never ours alone to make. It depended on how others treated us. Zethros' tendrils rippled in what might have been a nod, a lesson the Crethry learned too late. The Crethry themselves had retreated to their homeworld, their empire gone, their military destroyed. They were watched carefully, but they were not punished. Humanity had argued for mercy, saying that revenge would only create new enemies. They attacked us, General Howard Park had said during the debates. They tried to enslave our species. I understand the desire for revenge, but revenge does not bring back the dead, President Reyes replied. It only creates more dead. The Crethry have lost everything. Let them rebuild in peace. Let them learn that there are better ways to live. It was a hard choice, and not everyone agreed with it. But humanity had always been capable of forgiveness as well as fury. Not all the changes were political. Across the galaxy, cultures were mixing in ways that had never happened before. Human music could be heard on alien worlds. Alien art was displayed in human museums. Languages blended together. Cuisines combined. Children of different species grew up as friends. On a small planet in what had once been Crethry space, a young alien child named Vex looked up at the night sky. Before the humans came, Vex's people had been slaves. They had worked in mines from sunrise to sunset, with no hope of anything better. Now they were free. What do you see? Asked Vex's mother. Stars, Vex replied. So many stars. I want to visit them all. Maybe you will, the mother said. The humans say that anyone can travel the stars now. Anyone who dreams big enough. Far away, aboard a brand new exploration vessel called the Horizon, Captain Danny Cortez prepared for humanity's greatest journey yet. He was the same young engineer who had first detected the Crethry fleet years ago. Now he commanded a ship designed to travel beyond the galaxy's edge, into regions where no known species had ever gone. "All systems ready," his first officer, Commander Amy Novak, reported. "We are cleared to depart." Cortez looked at his crew. They were the best humanity had to offer, scientists and soldiers, dreamers and doers. They carried with them the hopes of an entire species. "You know," he said, "when I was a kid, I used to look up at the stars and wonder what was out there. I never imagined this. I never imagined that one day I would actually go and see." "The galaxy tried to stop us," Novak said. "That did not work out so well for them," Cortez laughed. "No, it did not. And now there is no one to stop us anymore. No barriers, no warnings. Just the unknown, waiting for us to discover it." He turned to face the view screen, where a billion stars gleamed in the darkness. Beyond them lay other galaxies, other mysteries, other possibilities. Humanity had proven itself against the greatest powers in the known universe. Now it was time to find out what lay beyond. "Engage faster than light drive," Cortez ordered. The horizon leaped forward, carrying humanity into the unknown. Behind them, the galaxy burned with the light of 100 worlds transformed by human contact. Species that had been enslaved were now free. Civilizations that had stagnated for millennia were now growing and changing. The old order was gone, replaced by something more chaotic, more dangerous, infinitely more alive. Ambassador Zethros watched the horizon disappear into the distance. He had lived for thousands of years and seen many things, but he had never seen anything like humanity. "We warned the galaxy not to disturb them," he said softly. "We were right to be afraid," but fear was not the only emotion he felt. There was also hope. Humanity was unlike any species the galaxy had ever known. They were dangerous, yes. They were aggressive and unpredictable and sometimes terrifying. But they were also kind and brave, determined to make the universe better than they found it. The stars burned with their fire now. And perhaps, Zethros thought, that was not such a bad thing after all. Humanity had arrived. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere, out in the infinite darkness, new wonders waited to be discovered by a species that would never stop reaching for more. The story was just beginning.